trying to distract from their inflation and rising cost of living by talking about their corruption. This will be the 10th Liberal budget. Already, they've doubled the debt, food bank lineups, and housing costs. Every dollar the government spends comes directly out of the pockets of Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, and house themselves. Their fridges are empty, Mr. Speaker. Will they learn these costly lessons? Will they cap their inflationary deficits and get rid of their insane taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is inventing scenarios to distract from the story. The Leader of the Opposition has had 2 opportunities to apologize to the RCMP, our judges, and our legal system. He has refused to do that. In terms of inflationist spending, so-called inflationist spending, from the opposition leader, well, he still hasn't suggested one single way to cut or identified what spending, what support for which Canadians he thinks is inflationary, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, tragically, 3,000 auto workers in Brampton learned that the Prime Minister had sold them out and failed them in negotiations with the United States of America. To make matters worse, this Liberal government and this Liberal finance minister forked over $15 billion tax dollars to the company that is moving their jobs south. So surely the government would have negotiated a jobs guarantee for every single Canadian Stellantis employee. Will they release that guarantee and the entire contract so Canadians know where their dollars went?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, of course, what Stellantis announced for the Brampton plant last week was completely unacceptable. And Stellantis has made solemn commitments to this government and to their workers, and they need to honor their commitments. And that's why we will hold them to account. While my colleagues are just right now talking, we already know that in committee we said that we would agree to the production of documents. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canada got dumped and can't deal with it.
Stellantis would not be announcing that it is moving a 3,000 worker plant to the United States of America if this government had negotiated job guarantees in that contract of $15 billion. To put this into perspective, $15 billion is $1,000 for every single family in Canada that was supposed to create jobs. So, simple yes or no question. Is there an ironclad guarantee of every single worker's job here in Canada in exchange for that $15 billion handout?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
That's a good question.
Mr. Speaker, let me be extremely clear. We will fight for these jobs because Canadian auto workers are the best auto workers in the world. And we will make sure that Stellantis face all consequences, including legal ones. That being said,
there won't be any
an hour
consequences.
ago, I met here in Ottawa with the head of Canadian Stellantis, with the head of Unifor, and also with the Minister of Economic Development of Ontario. We're one strong team, Canada, and we will make sure that these jobs stay in Brampton.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There's nothing Canada can do. It's already done.
Still no answer. It was the finance minister, the present-day finance minister, who is in charge of a $500 billion forthcoming Liberal budget that was the one who signed this deal. And amazingly, barely 2 years after he signed it and forked over 15 billion Canadian tax dollars, the company receiving it is moving the jobs to the United States of America. That minister claims she might take legal action. She can't do that unless there's actually a job guarantee. So will she tell us, yes or no, does every Canadian Stellantis worker have a job guarantee?
No, the answer is no. They do not have a job guarantee.
Mr. Speaker, when this government negotiates contracts, they're good ones. And so my colleague will have the chance to see these contracts. That being said, we will make sure to put full pressure on the company. These jobs need to stay in Brampton. These jobs need to stay in Canada. And ultimately, the future of the auto sector is bright, and we'll continue to fight for it.
No, the auto sector belongs to America, unfortunately for Canada.
Minister's broken promises are costing Canadians. The Prime Minister said he would lower grocery costs for Canadians, but in fact, food prices are rising twice as quickly now as they did under Trudeau. And it's because of the Liberal hidden taxes on food. And it's not imaginary. The Liberal government's own analysis said their food packaging tax increased costs on Canadians by $1 billion. Wow. A Deloitte study said it would increase fresh produce costs 34%. Will the Prime Minister scrap his hidden taxes on food, or will he break another promise to Canadians?
There you go.
Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, good news for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Prime Minister announced that we're making the school food program permanent. So I take from the question of the member opposite. That means, Mr. Speaker, that Canadian kids all across the country are getting good quality food at school, saving families about $800 a year at the grocery store. But I hope from the nature of that question, Mr. Speaker, we can count on the party opposite to support this budget.
The honourable member for Foothills.
But it was the Liberals who voted against scrapping their hidden taxes on food. And now we have 1 in 4 Canadians not knowing where their next meal is coming from. Bans on plastic food packaging, front-of-pack labeling, those will increase the cost of fresh produce 34%. The Liberals were warned these policies would increase costs on consumers, and those warnings were heeded. There is 4 million Canadians going to be forced to use a food bank this year, up 345% from 2015. Will the Prime Minister scrap his hidden taxes on food so Canadians can afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Minister of
Make food affordable.
Mr. Speaker, most Canadians know or ought to know that there isn't tax on food, and in fact, these are imaginary taxes. You know what's not imaginary, Mr. Speaker? The $8,000 in the Canadian family's bank account for a child under 6 that will be deposited today. Something that those Conservatives have voted against time and time again. When they have an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to make life more affordable for Canadians, they vote against the interests of Canadian families time after time.
Honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister told Canadians to judge them by the prices they pay at the grocery store. So let's do just that. Sherry, a senior in Cambridge, wrote to me this week. She sent a photo of her grocery receipt, $197 for a few basics that won't last the week. The cause, hidden Liberal taxes like the industrial carbon tax on farmers who grow the food. These taxes are buried in everyday essentials. Runaway Liberal spending has turned the grocery aisle into a luxury lane. With the budget coming, Canadians like Sherry want to know, will the government axe the hidden taxes and rein in the spending so they can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister.
Question.
Mr. Speaker, every time there's a chance to stand up for Canadian families, these Conservatives vote against their interests. Whether it's increases to seniors' benefits, Mr. Speaker, voted against it. Whether it's ensuring that food costs remain low for Canadians, voted against it. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect governments to work on their behalf, and they know they can't trust these Conservatives.
The Honourable member for
We
Cambridge.
can't trust you.
Mr. Speaker, same old answers. Let's talk about those so-called programs. 9 out of 10 kids do not get fed by this failed food program. The Liberals take food away from families to instead feed the government's constantly expanding bureaucracy.
Hit the like button, folks,
if
if you
those
haven't
programs
already.
were working, then food bank visits would be going down, not up. Since this Prime Minister took office, beef strip loin is up 28%. Sugar is up 19%. Apples are up
goodness.
13%. These aren't luxuries. They're everyday essentials being priced out of Canadian diets, forcing kids to go to bed hungry. So I'll ask again, will the government finally listen to the evidence and stop their reckless spending so families...
The Honourable Minister.
You know what, Mr. Speaker, when you visit food banks, one of the things they ask is to make the school food program permanent. And we listen, Mr. Speaker. That's what responsible governments do. We work with partners to make sure that we have programs across the country that reach hungry bellies. And that's what we're doing, saving Canadian families on average $800 a year. But these Conservatives vote against families time and time again. Mr. Speaker, they literally take food out of kids' mouths.
Whoa.